Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In Zena Family's Heart to Heart chat show today, I'm honored to speak to Ms. Sujaya Krishnan, who has been a very successful and distinguished bureaucrat and is currently the chairperson, Venu Charitable Society and member, Guild of Service. Post-retirement as Joint Secretary to the Government of India, she was a member of the Board of Advisors, White Swan Foundation for Mental Health, member, Governing Board, Alzheimer and Related Diseases, Society of India, member of the Executive Committee, Institute of Peace Research Action, New Delhi, member of the Mental Health Innovation Network, member of the 7th Joint Review Mission of the Midday Meal Scheme of the Ministry of HRD, and was also the advisor to the Staff Selection Commission. Ms. Sujaya Krishnan is also distinguished to get very, very important awards, and the list goes this way. She was honored with the Wonder Woman Award by the Delhi Chamber of Trade and Industry on the eve of International Women's Day 2025. She was the jury member, Economic Times Health Summit Awards 2025. She was a jury member, Pathfinder Awards and Speaker, International Patients Union Conference 2025. She was a speaker at IHW 6th Cancer Summit and Awards 2025. Number one is ET Health World National Fertility Awards 2025. Thank you, Mr. Sujaya Krishnan, to honor us and be with us as part of the Zena Family's chat show. Thank you so much, and we are really honored, and we would really like to know more about you. And to start with, my first question to you, Mr. Sujaya Krishnan, is tell us something about your childhood and about your growing up years.
First of all, thank you to Zena family and to you, Santosh, for having me on this Heart to Heart show done by the Zena family. To begin with, yes, you asked me about my childhood. My sojourn here begins in a little village in a town in the deep south, that is in Tamil Nadu. It's called Podhanur, and probably not many would have heard about it, but it is also the place where it is a very important railway junction. It has the main two things in the years 50 when I was born was the Everest Asbestos factory, which was earlier the Turner New Wall Group. That was where my father was working. And you had the Chandrika soap factory. It is an important signal training institute. And since Santosh, you're from Kerala, if you have seen the film Julie, you would know that there is a scene where, the parents take Julie to the railway, this thing, institute, and there's a ballroom dance and this thing. So then there's a New Year party going on. Similarly, I think it was my parents were there. It is a more British town. I mean, it's there, and the Anglo-Indian community were the ones who were living long back. I think many of them, of course, you in the 60s saw their migration either to UK or the Anglo-Indians to Australia. So when I think they took me there, I think coming back, my mother pointed out to school and said, this is a school, no? This is where children go to study. And I said, you'll understand it. And ki kullu pona. There was no way getting me into the railway school. But my uncle happened to be in the railways. And so I think through his good efforts, I was admitted there. And I studied there from 1st to 8th. My headmistress was Miss Morris. I was too young to be, taken around. I think I was just 4 years. So the boy would take me to the school. In the afternoon, she would take me home, put me to sleep. There's a powder puff, which I remember, nowadays you see this, when the WhatsApp groups put out this, kids thing. So she would put me to sleep, bring me back to school and this thing. So most of the teachers were British at that point of time. So Miss Morris was the headmistress. Then we had Miss Peters, Miss Sparrow, Mrs. James, and Miss Sparrow was somebody who was my class teacher, extremely fond of me. And, she knitted socks, as I remember from my childhood, these red and white, green and white, all those cotton socks, and she would make it out. She also gifted me, I think, when our Cocker Spaniel led, before she was leaving for England, she left Pomeranian with us and sang. 8 years there. And then I moved to Coimbatore, where I joined the St. Francis Convent Anglo-Indian High School. We used to have the 11th standard examination. It was a This is run by the Franciscan nuns, Italian Catholic nuns. So growing up, I think I said my Hail Marys and Holy Fathers with the same felicity that I said my Gayatris and this thing. But it was also a time because dad had a military background. So I think there was a certain amount of discipline. He was with the British Royal Air Force and, he's seen in the maintenance side and seen in thing. So I think we grew up with a lot of discipline. So there were strict timings adhered to, was saying. So dad's common thing was honesty is the best policy, and mom taught us that be content with what you have, little be it or much. So these were literally drilled into us. St. Francis, yes, 11th standard, I passed out. Yes, I was quite a good student. I think I had distinctions in it. Saying I could have gone into science or saying I was a topper for chemistry, the second in science. Geography was my subject that I never liked, but I don't know, I topped in the school for that. And I think that has something to do with my mother's thing. My memory of my childhood, I remember a day, mommy sitting and making dosas and asking me to read aloud, and I'm me reading, coffee grows in Coorg. So,
Okay.
but I think this teacher who taught us, she was saying, Miss Stofford, she would have this saying, she would hold up her hands to say the earth revolves around the sun, and her eyes would be closed. So we would be staring at her, and our elbows would be on the desk or thing. And she would say, elbows off the desk. Young girls should be seen, not heard. These were, tantrums, the usual convent bringing and finished 11th standard. That's the standard 11 exam. Then you have a 6 months period. So I think mommy got me to learn some stitching, knitting, all those things to kill time. And I'm in a family, I think I have two brothers and a sister ahead of me. And all of them, I think three. Dad was very particular about my brothers being engineers. One had to be a mechanical, the other chemical. Of course, the mechanical engineer became the mechanical engineer, the eldest one. The other one chose to do follow-up. He was earlier interested in science, moved on to sing, and then he went into marketing and sales. My sister remained a scientist. She was a geneticist, one of India's involved also with the Human Genome Project and so on with Bach. And me was the next. So everybody thought in those days, you either had you'll remember, A group, B group, and thing. And the C was a hybrid. You could take sociology, psychology. So I remember I went to college, the admission, I told I want the D group, which was English literature, history, and logic. All hell broke loose. My principal, Mrs. Bhagilakshmi, asked me that, did you discuss with your parents? Are you sure this is what you want to do? So I said, yeah, I think this is what I want. I think, I've always taken the untrodden path, I think. So I went into this, but by the time I returned home after the admissions, ours is a little colony, there are about 20 houses. And in Tamil, I think the mummies had all made it. They said something, I'll tell it in Tamil, you'll understand, I'll translate it for you. Paru, you're brilliant. Krishnanath பொண்ணு பாரு என்ன பண்ணிருக்கா D group எடுத்துட்டா. So it was the most biggest scandal that could have gone around, that I had gone to D group instead of becoming either going for engineering or medicine. Whereas I think it was there, and I was very clear, I'll do this, I'll go for law or something. Once I passed my PUC, we used to have the pre-university admissions. My professors told me that there are 20 seats for English literature. I was a topper in Madras University. So they think one seat is there for you. So I said, I'm not sure I want to take English literature. Maybe I'll go in for economics. Anyway, I did. Graduated in economics, but I would later come back to do my English literature. That's this thing. And so 3 years of graduation, I finished that out. And that was a time about, when dad was about to retire, we were saying mom wanted to go back to Kerala. I was looking for admission. She was not willing to send me to a hostel to stay and study. And so I had applied in Kerala, then St. Joseph's and, Guru Ayyappan for the economics and all that. But then I decided that I would come. My brother was working in the north. I decided I'll come and study here and then pursue around that time, because in college, of course, I was also the college union president, and probably I have a record of having one with the 2/3 majority, which was which remained unbeaten for long. I don't know. So, and I was into some of these social activities and things. I felt that, I could do law and then branch out into public service, which would help. See, not everybody can become the prime minister. So the other way of best serving is the country is to get into the civil services, where you would have opportunities to deal with the public and do that out. So that's where I think I decided that, okay, I'll do law and sing. Here I came and sing, got into Meerut University. My father was very furious. He felt that was not what I should have done. I should have been there. But it afforded me an opportunity to, prepare for that, what I was wanting to do. So I thought, yeah, I'll get a feel of the place and things. And anyway, coming to Ghaziabad, where I stayed, it was a cultural shock. For somebody down south, this was a world beyond, it's nothing. There was no culture, no civilization. It
And
was
which
a,
year was this?
eh?
Sujaya ma'am, which year was this?
This
Which
was in
year?
78,
Oh my, yeah.
79. Yeah.
Okay.
And 80, I gave my civil services exam because during that time, I also got into a leave vacancy because I thought, yeah, that would be a good, I wouldn't have to. So I had approached the Rao Study Circle and the Delhi IS Study Circle. So they refused to coach me, saying that if my combination of English literature and history, I may not qualify, but they suggested that I study geography, sociology, psychology, these subjects. These are supposed to be scoring subjects.
Correct. Yes.
But then
Okay.
I wasn't very sure that that is what I wanted to do. And anyway, around that time, I got a leave vacancy. I mean, I got two offers. One was the Mother Superior, in fact, came home to ask me to join the school to teach the ISC students. I mean, but teaching them, I thought that would be a little difficult because I would have to go with the missing. Rather than that, I would join the college and take up that leave vacancy for which I was selected, and I'll do that. It would also give me preparation time, and it will be preparation time, plus I wouldn't have to study so much. That will take care of that. So that's what I did. I went into 3 months of teaching. I took up English literature and history for my qualifications. And since these people, but of course, my brother, that's it, and had got me, I think he spent a fortune trying to get me the Delhi IS Study Circle was willing to give me the general knowledge papers, and they have a set of series, and I was anyway in college into debating and quiz, so that was much more easy. But then since they felt that I was doing the wrong thing in taking these two subjects, but this is what I did as usual, I think. And I qualified in that. This was also the year that the examination pattern had changed, so we were initially from the general, the 3 papers for the IAS, 2 papers for the IPS, and for the rest of the allied services, as it was called, because this is when the exam became the civil services exam in 79. So you had the prelims, you qualified the prelims, then you got into the mains and then the interviews. So I managed to get through, and then came the interviews where, saying, so again, no coaching, nothing. And the surprising part is now when I look back, everybody had coaching institutes, everybody. I didn't even have peer interactions, because this was a godforsaken place where you're saying I was not allowed to go out. Those were the days, Sundar Daku would come out in the night. You would sleep, and then suddenly you would hear the horse hooves, and people will, in the morning when you wake up, people say, Sundar Daku aake chala hai. Those ways, that was Ghaziabad. And I was wondering, and my parents were wondering what it is. When you travel from here, I was not allowed to wear jewelry. And I remember the first time I went back to Kerala, I was wearing silver jewelry. And my mother said, you are not supposed to step out. Go change all this and let nobody see you like this. Because you have this, which was the train, the Jayanti Janata. So yeah, and when you pass that Gwalior, everything, the Chambal Valley comes, and then you wait through the night and go out. It was it was a life that I had not prepared myself for, kind of thing. But anyway, the interviews came. I got into the interviews. So at that interview, I do remember somebody who asked me. Of course, this person is today, I mean, she's already She's in the, she qualified for the, I think she later joined the Foreign Service, and her husband joined in the IAS. So she asked me that, do you know which board you'll go to? No, I'm going to go to so-and-so Mrs. Das's board. And Mrs. Rajmal Devdas was from the Avinashi Lingapur. So I said, I asked her very innocently, how do you know all this? So I came and told my brother. My brother we would travel every day morning by train, come back. He would leave me in the hall. And in the afternoon, we'll go for that. There's the famous chartwala. We'll have chart. My brother would be buying books, reading, and things like that. Evening, we would come back home. Some days there was the papers were consequently, the next day itself. I think especially in the prelims or something, it was like that. So then they would cook up some rice and sambar and something for me or some omelette, and then and it would continue. So the next day, this is how it was a struggle to go through. And when I told this, he told me, you want to get into this civil services, that was your dream, so you concentrate on what you have to do. If you're to do it out, you'll get it. Why are you bothered about boards and things? How do you know? And how do you know she's saying, why are you listening to all this? So fine. So I got into a board where I was asked, the first question that was asked to me, I think, why did I not opt for the IPS or something? I had been the chief prefect of the college and something like that. So I said, I'm not interested. I want to, get into either the civil services and go into maybe be within the country or go out or do that kind of a thing. The next question was to me that why are the Mapilas of Kerala so called? The Mapilas are there because it was the Arab traders who came and married and they became the sons-in-law of the soil. Right. Questions like this. Anyway, I qualified, came into this thing. And then I think it was given my naivete or the fact that I would be very blunt. I think people told my brother, I think it's better, she doesn't get into the state cadres or get in, pangas with any politicians or anything. It will be better if she gets a central posting. And that was how I opted. I was literally told to opt for this because they said they didn't want to carry my luggage around in case I had something like that. So I got into the CSS, I got into the central services, began life here. And
Mr. Jay, I have two questions, sorry,
yes.
for the audience. So was that your first attempt? You cleared in your first attempt itself?
No, the first, this thing was the pattern had changed, so I qualified in the mains. I wanted to give it a try. And this was my, this thing, it's like second attempt. The actual, when the exams came, so that was,
and
it was.
Mr. Jay, that during that time, were you representing, were you from Kerala state or?
No, I was here in Ghaziabad. I didn't represent. And now that you've raised that question, I'm a Keralite born and brought up in Tamil Nadu. And I've been across, I've studied partly there. I have degrees from the Punjab University. I have an MA English Literature from, of course, Meerut, which was, I think my parents were furious that I chose such a university. But my own thing was, I felt that I'd be closer to the area or something. And anyway, I topped I was a rank holder in the university. It didn't matter to me, I think, to do that out. But my MA Public Administration is from Punjab University. I hold a postgraduate diploma in business and industrial management. And I'm one of the few trained educational planners from the International Institute on our UNESCO fellowship, which I did out. I was also visiting fellow there at the university subsequently. We were gone and I could have gone, but work commitments didn't permit me. Even this fellowship that I went and took was, that's the kind of thing.
Okay, Mr. Chair, one more question. So when you discussed about civil services, how was your father's reaction that time? I'm talking, this is...
No, he knew, see, I think dad was the only earning member, and 3 in the family. I didn't fancy cutting cockroaches. I'm very sure. I died saying I hate cockroaches. I didn't fancy cutting them. 3 of them. I don't think dad could have made all of them doctors. It was one single person. And anyway, I was sure that I wanted to go for law. That was what I think. I did study business law, and I think through my career, probably it was destined, so I have a lot to do within the work also. I got into legislation, I got into this thing, so that has been continue. Some things I feel, life has a way of, giving it to you or whatever, So that said, although later when, because Coimbatore University was starting, Coimbatore was having its medical college. And, after PUC, for me, with my kind of marks and things, getting into a medical college would have been a cakewalk at that point of time. But
Okay.
I was very clear that I didn't want to do that now,
Okay.
But also, yeah, now that you raised this question about saying, I think when I was doing BA economics, that was a time Syndicate Bank started its first all women's branch. My professor, Yvonne Mascarenes, took over as the first manager there. And in fact, at that point of time, she told me, Sujaya, why don't you join me? You can come in as a probationary officer and do that out. Maybe if you want to continue studies also, you could do. Years later, of course, to me, it made sense. The minute I told it at home, the reaction I got was, if you want, you study. Others, there are, you can get married, and then it's a, but that was not very sure. And I was very sure that that was not the path I wanted to take. And of course, mummy supported, because mummy was the eldest daughter in her family and got married around 17, 18, and all our other sisters. So she always felt that, we should become independent, do that kind of thing. And she supported that out. Although there were proposals. So dad at one point of time said, that I think, maybe you would have had a good life, or, maybe, but that was not my scene, I think, that's
Okay,
how,
wonderful.
yeah. So
And you mentioned your brother has been very supportive, the one who was in
yeah,
the.
my brother has been very supportive. My brother was the engineer. Both of them were there. So, and it was a great, because I have never stepped out of the house. And here was me staying in a place. Now, when I look back, I don't know where I found the courage, which also meant that I would have to I'd do all the cooking. At home, mom would saying I would have boiled milk, done that, and there was an electric stove. This thing was there, and here, you were in Ghaziabad in a rented house. You have to do that out, plus prepare for your studies. So I had to prepare a timetable, which was very thing. I was also working for the 3 months. That 3 months I was working, this period I felt was good. Although when I first joined, there was a reluctance, because I was asked to take classes for literary criticism, which is a tough paper. And it was immediately for the MA first year students. So they felt, would I be there? But by the end of it, I turned out to be one of the favorite lecturers. But also, my brothers had a feeling. They would tell me that very soon I would be teaching English and Shakespeare in Hindi. And this literally, I would say, I had to take English as a subject for the BA economics, students. And then when I think I was doing Thomas Hardy's Far from the Madding Crowd, I was reading, and and you have to literally translate every word into Hindi, or, cut it down into the smaller these things and tell. So there was one class in which suddenly there was the word hope. And I don't know, suddenly I was flummoxed. I didn't know what to say. And then I said, Asha, So I came back home and I said, yeah, today I think he had to teach English in Hindi, this is what happens, kids say. But then that's life.
Sujaya Krishnan, one more question I had. Somewhere down the line, you mentioned that you don't like cutting cockroaches, but you wanted to do something in the public services field. So what
Yeah.
actually inspired you to take up civil services as a career? And when was this? And who were the people whom you talked to? Was it parents, brothers, or friends? Because
No,
it was a tough
in my
decision coming out
family,
of. Yeah.
especially mine, I think we don't have anybody in the civil services.
Okay.
Of course, we had a family educated. My aunts, uncles are all into law and this thing. My aunt was with the Nutrition Institute, and I remember in the 60s, we read about her research in the papers. It had come out. It was big news and things like that. But this was also the time, I was into competitions and things. And, you had competition success review. And
Yes.
what was the
CSR.
economic and political weekly you would read out. And there was another one, competition success review and competition review or something. There was an a master or something, So there you would find out, about the people who had, who were applying if you wanted to do, service. And as part of my college activities, I was also into a bit of social service and things like that. And this was also the time, I think, where I had the privilege of welcoming and felicitating Mother Teresa when she came to our college. It was there. And
Okay.
her influence, also the fact that, within us thing, we were told that if you have to do, always do good for somebody. So
Yes.
the possibilities of doing good or the work that you do, yes, bank would bring you this thing, but to actually connect with the community or to do, there was no other thing that would give you. Yes, you could become a lecturer, but you would have some social activities, or little of what I had seen. So colleges, you could take children. We were visiting hospitals, doing some surgery. But so I felt that this was one opportunity. I thought I would do my law and then do this out, but there were
Wonderful.
plans. Everything doesn't happen to this thing.
And I really want to touch on your journey as a bureaucrat.
uh,
So I've got few questions which I really want to club and ask you. One
uh,
is, uh, how can you describe a moment when you felt that you made a real difference in the world through your work? This is your civil services part of life. That's what we're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
And your journey in that,
So
and
far, yeah.
also any proudest moment in your career as a civil servant. That part of it.
Okay.
We're taking that part. So
Yeah.
if you could just share.
So, I mean, when I made a difference, I come to the start from the latest.
Okay.
In the Ministry of Health, I came into the Ministry of Health. I was asked to set up the empowered procurement wing, which was there. And this was something that I didn't venture for. It had to do with procurement. The Ministry of Health, in the years, I think this will be 2008, 9 and all that. We had 7,000 crores of procurement, around that time.
And
And I
Sujaji,
was
sorry.
asked to set up the
Sorry.
standards, put in the standard. This was something I thought I wouldn't want to do, kind of thing. When I came into I just shifted out from urban development and I was posted to the Ministry of Ministry of Earth Sciences. So I welcome. It's a more a scientific ministry, but usually the scientists and the bureaucrats are not to this thing. But when I went in, I was told that the first day, when the posting came, I had a very hectic this thing in the Ministry of Urban Development. I have the rare distinction of being both the director of estates, so which meant I looked after all the estates of the government of India, which is allotting houses to the bureaucrats, to the ministers, office accommodation, looking after the markets all in Delhi. And it was during my period that all the markets were transferred back and so on and so forth, So after that, when this came, this was far from the central place of power as you thought it, Shastri Bhavan, Nirman Bhavan, Rail Bhavan, all this. And the CTO complex was far away. And I was told that, okay, you're welcome. The day I went in, my office was ready. People said, we've all been waiting. Your reputation travels ahead of you. We want to welcome you. And the joint secretary, he was going to leave and he was going to join Cisco. So he told me, Sujaya, I mean, you can be here. We have already decided you will look after administration, you will look after the Earth Commission, you can go to the Arctic, he told me, So I said, yeah, because they have these Arctic explorations and, travel that out. By evening, there was an order that had come that I was being shifted to the Ministry of Health. So when I was saying, so when this came, he told me, if you're going to look after administration here and there, then you might as well be here because you will enjoy it and, we'll have this thing. But if given your this thing reputation and this thing, if you're going to be given projects or if you're going to look after those, maybe career-wise, that's good for you. So I came and met Mr. Naresh Dayal, was the secretary then. So he said, come, Sujay, your order hasn't come to us, but most welcome, come this thing. So I wasn't sure and how it is going to be or thing. So I was getting out from the minister's office and I was walking along the corridor when one of the joint secretaries who was heading the national, the Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission, the health mission. So he said, yeah, Sujay, you've dealt with one of the world's things. You're the right person. You should come in here and things like that. So when that happened, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to get into, jumping from project, but I think destiny has a way in education. When I started out with the district primary education, it was the world's largest project anywhere, funded by the different agencies. I came into urban development. I was dealing with JNORM. I wouldn't say the small, but the small and medium towns. So again, a mission which was there. It seemed, I say, and here when I came in, I was being asked to. So within a month of me coming, I was asked to go on a review mission to do the project and come back.
Okay.
Then when this happened, then I moved into, after the empowerment, setting up the empowerment procurement wing, I was asked to look after the non-communicable diseases and blindness. When I was told that I will be looking after, first it started with the glamorous NCDs like CVD, stroke, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and then it was about blindness control, mental health, and so on. I do not know, but blindness control, perhaps somewhere I think destiny came full circle for me. I think in the year that I was growing, in Podno, when I said, from our factory to this thing, there's a road that goes, and across that road, you will see a, say, stoned wall. And sometimes you will hear music wafting from across. And if you try to look up, you might see a person from shoulder to shoulder. And Mama would tell me, so we used to feel curious about what's beyond that. And then she would tell us that, there were people who can't see, but when God takes away something, he gives something back. They have other faculties are very strong and so on. I never knew that. Keep saying coming down the line. Later, I would, when it's saying our birthdays, after I came to Ghaziabad and things like that, I was very fond of Japanese cake. There's something which we get in the South, good bakeries. So I remember one birthday, I think my brothers got me for the birthday. And that birthday, I said, no, I don't think, we should spend so much. And we should give this away to somebody, to spend more. And during that period, I don't know what, a helpage used to come to me and cry. So every year on my birthday, I would give a sum I didn't know what cataract was or anything, except I knew that they do some operation. So the person gets the sight back and it would say. And it was here that, so maybe, I don't know, somewhere, something, I came on to head the national program for the control of blindness for the entire country. Maybe something to do that, destiny had a way of bringing. And if I look through the continuum in this, throughout, whether it was in education, whether it was in urban development or here, I had a lot to do with the say the disabled sector, whether it was special education or integrated education is saying. In urban development, I was talking about accessible these things. The disability sector very often said that I was their best friend. I don't know how much I managed to do for them or not. And here in health, it came. I think so destiny had a way of bringing it full circle. So I got into this program. Again, mental health. Mental health, my own idea was, again, back to childhood, a house opposite us. There was this Andhra family, well-educated girls, but the boys were all, night we would hear screams, then the police would come. We would find the boys chained, and things like that. And growing, as I tried to understand questions of, existential questions, finding out, I found that, it was sometimes putting away women, especially from the women's point of view. I mean, it was sometimes they were locked up in asylums or thing as a convenient way if it was, it didn't suit the family or property disputes or something. So these were something that always troubled me. What happens, what is society and so on. Here, I would get to do the mental health program. It was a small program. It's saying I can very proudly say that I contributed to preparing and bringing about the Mental Health Act 2017, which is there. Even on my last day before my retirement, I was working, that was coming up in Parliament. I was doing at 8 o'clock. I was sending the brief for my minister to, to do it in Parliament. And here was me. I think so life sometimes, or destiny, plays a part in what you do or what it is there. Maybe I was meant to be in that role. I never knew that out. And here now, after retirement in Venu, oh, I'm doing this, or, that I joined. This was first, they brought me in. But more importantly, the question that you asked me is saying, when I think there are many meetings that I've attended or represented the country. And when I started out with blindness, I was fortunate to be one of the 7 members from across the world. There are 7 advisory members on a panel for the global elimination of trachoma. This was the first meeting that I went in to attend at W, and there was no meeting where I felt more inadequate. I didn't know, so I spoke to doctors across the country. I was asking them. So everybody said, Madam, there's nothing called trachoma. Either today's ophthalmologist wouldn't know anything about it. You see. So the first meeting I went in, so people looked at me, they said, you're an ophthalmologist. I said, no, I'm not. I'm a generalist. And I was saying, but I think very often I've been told that I know more about this than anything, because I think I was well educated by the people with whom I worked. I am not ashamed to ask questions. So they were saying, so if I have to say, I think Dr. Jose told me all about cataract. Dr. Rajvardhan Asad from the RP Center taught me about retina and all that. He would sing, I would spend hours. And sometimes Mr. Azad would tell me that, ma'am, I think you're many years ahead of us. You want to ask it. And here was this meeting. We get into the meeting. You have the member states on one side, you have Pfizer and company on one side. And suddenly there's a map of India going in red. The world map is shown and India is colored red. So I said, what is this? I said, what does this imply? So they said, madam, this is India is a trachoma endemic country. I said, what rubbish? I said, who told you all that? They said some NGO, that 22 countries were studied. India still, yes, India did have trachoma at the time of independence, but that was long. And trachoma is a disease of poverty and underdevelopment. So it was a shame. I was absolutely seething. I said, no, you have no business. We had a program running. And in between this, I'm having the NGOs like WASH coming and telling, ma'am, we want to come to your country. I said, you're most welcome. You can come. But, to talk about hygiene and this, I said, what are you trying to say? I said, we train people from other countries who are seeking. On the one hand, I find there are people, delegates asking me if we can come for training to Aravind and so on. And here you're telling me that you will teach me to make a plan where the country has been having a national program running. So that day I kicked up a ruckus, and night they had to go into a huddle. They had to contact headquarters. They woke up, everything. People said, the ma'am is really saying. I said, no, this is no way to deal with a member state. You cannot handle this out like this. I said, I refuse to take it. And I want to know the name of the NGO who told you all this, which is where the study has been. So I think morning we were told to come in by 9. So they said, no, it was a mistake. No, we have been trying to get data from India, but we didn't get it. Which I said, it's not a public health concern at all for us. And I still have with me a letter after all this. And then, India is lumped up with countries like Lesotho, Chile, Brazil, somewhere, other smaller countries in the Caribbean, Congo, and all, where you have this problem. I said, refuse to. I said, if you want, you'll have to show the country separately. So I get a letter finally from Silvio, who's the head there. He says, where he writes, it was not until you came on the scene. For 17 years, this has been, happening. People have been coming from India, and this is the first time. It was not until you came and lit the flame that. So somewhere, I think, as people who are in service, I think the qualities that you need to do it's all about integrity, empathy, and accountability, and at certain transparency when you are in public service. You need to fight for your country. You can't let people ride roughshod over you. And that was the time. But I don't know how many of you know that on 8th October 2024, there was a small item tucked away inside columns of the papers which said India has been declared trachoma free. I superannuated from service in 2014. This happened around 2012, 13 when I was fighting it out. So they changed the category. They said India, China, and Nigeria will be shown as the larger countries where action has been delayed or something. So the categorizations changed. I helped to make this out. And they're saying India was finally declared trachoma free. So this is something that we all need to, work. When you are in that kind of a service, yes, it was a proud moment. So I remember the lady And India did have Car Nicobar Islands in the Andamans did have, but we did work to eliminate that kind of a thing. And the lady who's a lone ophthalmologist in Car Nicobar, she sent me the cutting. She said, "Ma'am, it's a proud moment for you. You were behind this." So I do not know. I see when we work in government, it is never a one person or one woman show. It's a teamwork. We all work together. I was fortunate to have good teams who did it out, and I ensured that three things happened. That was one was a national trachoma survey, national blindness control. The other was my work in the area of the elderly, for which I was also part of drafting the policy for the elderly and this thing. So we have the LASI study, that is a long-term aging study of India, which is there. It's a studying the cohort so that we get all the biomarkers. We know what is the trend of aging, what is the kind of thing. And the other was the mental health survey. So if I've left behind something, I think it is my contributions to these and to the Mental Health Act, that has been done. That's where I talk about the health. But go back earlier to the days of education. I think I was also responsible as part of the Education for All Summit, which included it out. And there is a Delhi declaration that was worked out. We had, this is about the 9 high populous countries and where literacy is a very poor. So when we had this is a theme, the whole year long preparations, this was followed by the Chogam meeting. So I was involved in contributions to being, whether it's part of the organizing committee, the drafting committee, getting the Vigyan Bhavan ready, taking it over from the CPWD and things like that. And on the last day, when the Delhi declaration, we were all primed, the whole heads of state were supposed to be here. President Suharto, the eldest, he was leading there. Chinese vice premier had come, Mexico, Nigeria, and the Mexican minister was the most handsomest thing. So all, you had the world TV and radios and, clicking it out. The last day of that, you had a hectic thing. We had negotiated, kissing, and this Delhi declaration is supposed to be signed on parchment paper. So it is Suharto, President Suharto, His Excellency would sign it. Last, Mr. Narasimha Rao was our Prime Minister, and he, as the India's host, he would be signing last. And it had been all declared. This is happening in Vigyan Bhavan with all the cameras whirling and things like that. We had volunteers on stage who would have to, accompany. When it is announced out, he would have, there's a table laid out and he's supposed to come and sign. Suddenly, when this all starts out, earlier we had given them a draft. So everybody is suddenly on the stage, everybody is like that. And I'm sitting right at the back because after such a hectic, that was the day to rest off. And nothing, nobody. So from back, I'm trying to show action. My bosses are in front. They are trying to say nobody's moving. And suddenly in Vigyan Bhavan, from the back, Cohen shields, silk sari. I had to rush. The security didn't know what was happening. So I had to go there. I said, move. Nobody was moving. So finally, I had to escort back again with all people. So I had to bring him back to the table to sign that out. And then it goes in alphabetical order. And then comes Mexico. After MN, so suddenly Prime Minister Narasimha Rao announces Nigeria. I'm standing behind, I freeze. So I look, I bend, come closer. I said, Prime Minister, you made a mistake. Suddenly it gets blurted out. It's Mexico, it's Mexico. So he just shoos me off like this. Then I escort the Mexican with this thing. And then it goes on. And then when we get up, finally, PM tells me, thank you. And everybody thought this is finished. This lady is going to get fired out, I think. But everybody was also worried that it would have been 200 crores down the lane, because if that had not happened. And I was feeling, everything's passed. Once this is done, after such a hectic period, we would have the rest everything. But this is what happened. So that was, I saved the day for India. So somebody said it was a sixer that Sujaya bounced out. That was the last goal that had to be done. So those were, yes, moments you have. You also asked about the pressure. Yes, pressure is always...
Before, but I had a comment to make. I was hearing all this. So your parents must be definitely proud that you didn't become a doctor, but you served the Indian citizens in the healthcare
yes, I think
in a different way.
they were they
So
have
they
been
should.
friend. Of course, mommy was there. Like
Okay.
I lost my father when I was 31. So
Oh,
that was
okay.
the, yeah. And I was away in Paris when I was supposed to come back. I lost my mother.
Oh,
So
oh.
10 years apart. And in between, I think, yeah, I lost my brother also. So there were tragedies that the thing. Of course, she had seen, mom had known a little about my these activities that had happened or anything, or the education and, little things. But yeah, yes, I do miss that out. I know that dad would have been very proud of it.
No, he would
Mom
have
did
seen
it.
from heaven.
How, yeah,
From heaven,
but
dad and mom would have seen that in the
yes.
healthcare segment also, you've been really looking after people and you did so many.
Yes, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's saying, like you asked me about the pressures. See, in when you are in public service, it's always there. You will have some of it is political pressure, but there were few things that I had made it clear. I think, like I said, I think if you have integrity, if you have empathy, and if you have accountability and transparency, I think you do manage to fend off. I have so many stories that I could say, how it's been, would be there. But pressures, yeah, political pressures do you have? But once they know that, you have a certain focus, you have a certain thing, and it is there that this is how I would deal with this. Everybody, I think it's saying. And then earlier in career myself, I told myself, I will not allow the system to break me. They may try to bend me, but I will not allow the system to break me. No, I will let the system play around all this thing. So that I think I've been lucky. I think some blessings from above, and that I managed to keep a level shoulder on level
Excellent.
head on level shoulders. I managed to think. Of course, people have said it, okay, so and because so much so that even ministers have acknowledged that, yeah, if Sujaya said it, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. I
Excellent.
can give off one incident where when this was in urban development, my posting as director of estates, I would say, I used to say that when I enter gate number one of Nirman Bhavan, I can leave my top faculties behind. I didn't know, why. So of course I was told. So I remember that time I was a director and my joint secretary had told me, Sujaya, I know this is not this thing, but and if you feel strongly about thing, please do, you know, try to do it. But afterwards, if you're turned down, like a good bureaucrat, please do implement whatever
Okay.
you've been told to. And I remember there was the minister was our minister also, and he was also the minister of culture. There was one occasion I was not aware of it. I think he spoke to the secretary, he asked for something, and then I think he told the people, connect to Madam Sujaya Krishnan. So when he spoke to me, I said, yes, sir, this is how it is. This cannot be done. So it seems people in the crowd. So this went wild. In case that, Minister, after speaking to the secretary, spoke to Madam Singh, the director, and when she said it cannot be done, he said it seems that it cannot be done. अगर वो बोल रही है कि नहीं होएंगे तो नहीं होएंगे. So it can't be. So it was taken. Oh, I have had a minister like Kumar. Sometimes he said, Amma, you don't know politics. I said, so it's your business to do politics, and it's my minister job to tell you, advise you. You can take it or leave it. You're the minister. You have the choice to do what you have to do. So that is what, So I think, so I was very fortunate whether across dispensations or anything, but it also depends on the officer, because, sometimes you can, I think, see, when people say that in government, people don't want to take decisions when they don't want to, because nobody wants to get into trouble, and why should they spoil the race? But then that cannot be an excuse. If you really if you are focused, if you have a certain passion to do something, and you have marshaled the facts and you know that out, you're going to take decision on this thing, irrespective of cases, this is how you will proceed. I think then you're doing the right thing. There is,
Excellent.
and you will find support. And I find it out that people who felt that I was in, they came back and say, they have come back and said, they have turned around to be my friends who say, हमें पता है कि अगर आप कर रहे हैं तो वो ही है. And like I can give you another instance. There was this same officer who, who was with us. He was from the UP cadre, came back, he went to the UN, in the UNEP, he was working there. And I had moved away from the director of SS and I was working in the urban development, main ministry.
Homework,
And one day,
homework.
and one day I get a call saying so and so wants to talk to. So I picked up. So he said, Sujaya, this is what, my colleague is coming something. So I said, sir, I'm no longer in the Directorate of Estate. So he says, I know, I found that all out, but I wanted to still, what's your advice, So I said, I mean, if this is the rule, this is how it will happen. So he says, he tells me, it's like a baton we pass on. When we come, somebody comes to the center, we say, okay, सुजय से मिल लेना उससे, अगर वो कह दिया, if she says नहीं होएंगे तो नहीं होएंगे, मान के चलना, अगर कुछ भी गुंजाइश है, she will definitely help you out. So I think you build up a reputation. People know that, if there is something, there's fair play across these things that you will do. I think then you will have to do that.
Perfect. That's so wonderful. Mr. Sujaya Krishnan, one question.
Huh.
Mentorship, your career or in your life, what is the role mentorship has played? Who have been your mentors in life, whom you have looked upon and who have guided you and helped you in your career?
I would definitely say first my parents. I mean, there were certain values that they instilled in me, which has stood me in good time. Of course, like honesty is the best policy. I remember saying, there was something, a rolling stone gathers no moss. So my eldest brothers used to say, you have to roll only, then you will gather the moss. So I remember Dad telling us, see, this is what I want to tell you all. Maybe I don't know what your world thing or the environment you will be in will be like. But I found that, if you are in a public service, a certain amount of integrity, I wouldn't even say certain amount, integrity is the basic thing. You have to have it. You have to have a certain passion about it. And my mother's, it's that you don't look beyond, what are your value system? It's not the materialistic, that, thing. And I've always believed that certain people came into your life to do that out. When I came into education, when I was posted out, Miss Anna Malhotra, who was the first women IAS officer, had just left. Sarla Agrawal was coming in. Sheila Kaul was the minister. Kapila Vatse, the arena of art and culture. She was the additional secretary. There was a lot. And I was the first woman officer posted in the university division, but nobody wanted. So when I came in, I was in my late 20s and so on, still young. So they felt that I must be a chit of a girl who whether she will survive here or not. And the main thing was that there's a lot of parliament questions and things like that. Mrs. Gandhi was the PM then. And look, it's there. So vice chancellors used to be thrown out at the drop of a hat, and then we would face questions in from parliament. You have to answer it out. But then also there were people like Mr. Dr. Kirish Joshi, somebody who was with the service, left out, went to Mother Aurobindo, was brought back by Mrs. Gandhi, who spoke about truth, beauty, and goodness and helped it out. So there were people who could understand. I was told, okay, they said, okay, we sing. And in fact, even at that point of time, I remember there was an incident when Mr. K.C. Pant was the minister, my minister, and I was told the first question something. There was a file referred from Delhi University, I think it was Delhi University. So I was told, you please go to the CSL library, read the law, try to understand, put it up. And whatever I wrote out, went up on file, and then I was told suddenly there was a message in the evening that the minister's calling. So minister doesn't call such a junior officer. I was just starting out on my career there. So it was there. So I went and told this thing. So they sent, so everybody, my joint secretary, everybody advised me, this is how you should speak. Be very careful what you say and all that. So when I went in, minister said, see, you've written it. I find that everybody signed after your signatures. What if I, as minister, asked you to change? You have said this can't be done. So I said, as minister, you don't have to ask me to do that. Or I never knew what to say. So I said, but that will not be an administrative decision. That will be a political decision. So he said, you can change. So he looked at me, is saying, and that was also the time when the national education policy was being prepared. It was being put out for the first time in 85. We were throwing it out to the public to give their views, and every day there will be a list, and my secretary, she would write with her left hand. Every paper came down, it was at once. And you will also remember the 80s was the time of the typewriters where you have to, you have to put 7 sheets of carbon paper and get it out, typed in this. So sometimes at once everything can't be typed out. There's a single typist who would have to do it. The person wouldn't be able. So sometimes you write notes in hands, give it out. So sometimes I put. So he minister also said, I find that some of your notes come to me in handwriting. No notes are supposed to. The rule is that files that go to the minister, there should be no handwritten notes. He said, you have a good handwriting. You can, why do you say? So I said, I have the option. Everything is the same. Either I can wait for the typist to type it out, put it up and then send it. Or if it says at once, then I can write it, my own note and send it up. I have that choice to do it if I have to keep the time. So he said, you have a good handwriting. You can continue to send notes in handwritten notes. Then he told about this. He told me that, you can tell your joint secretary. That time I was in the branch, So he said that I agree with you and that I accept your views, because I told him, I said, it'll be an administration. If this is a thing, it'll be a political decision. That's for you to take. And if you have to change your views, you don't have to ask me. You will take your decision. No, I'm nobody to tell what decision the minister should take. So I was told it. When I came back, Shastri Bhavan was agog with the Sinki. नया ऑफिसर जो आया है मंत्री जी को ये बोल दिया है और मंत्री जी नहीं है and I don't know how that news traveled around, but what minister told me to tell, I came and told my secretary and my joint secretary that this was what he said. He's saying I agree with this thing and it's thing. So sometimes yes, there are pressures, but I believe that in the working, within the thing, like I say, don't put pressure by saying you need to be a leader who stands with your team. You have to build. It's about collaboration, because in the ministries, it is never a one-person play at all. It's your team that's going to say. So you have to build up the second rung of leadership. You need to be saying it has to be a collaborative effort. They should feel that they have a stake in that. They have that sense of belonging, and if it is there. So I think many people, it's now more than 10 years, I meet up people sometimes because we bureaucrats have a short this thing. And it's there, you're out of the service, you're forgotten and nobody's bothered about it. But I think I've been very fortunate to still have people who ring me up and say, ma'am, you've been the best boss that we've had. You taught us. And there were some people who, on Teachers' Day, they've been sending me messages saying that they learned. I don't know whether I was a good teacher or what, but I've tried to be, I think it's basically about kindness, about being saying. And like I tell my colleagues in office, you can be pressured here. What will you do? You'll carry it home, you'll throw it on your wife and say, leave that behind. I'm told, my own family tells me that you're a workaholic. I don't know what you're doing, what you get out of it. I never got anything out of it. One doesn't do anything to get something out of it. But if you're passionate about something, you know what you want to do. And if you remember, and for my working life has mainly been in the social sector. So it's all about, sometimes it's not an industrial production house that I do something today and the result will be seen tomorrow. It was not that. So some may take ages to happen, but if you keep the last person out there for whom you're trying to create these policies or trying to do something which will get implemented by the states, because education, health are all state subjects also. So you need the state's help also to implement. You may be doing, but you can't do policy on a desk basis unless you know that, what is needed. So if that funda is clear, I think you're quite okay with everything.
Ma'am, we are running short of time, but there are two very important questions I wanted to ask
Yes.
you. One is, I believe charity is very important to you and it plays a very important role in your life post your retirement from civil services. Can you tell a little bit about that? That's one question.
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, this is, I say, now I'm currently the chairperson. I think people who knew got me into it. But Venu is a legacy high hospital. It's a research center also, where it's been there. But we also have a geriatric institute, which is dealing with this thing. And the person from AIMS who also works, I was responsible somewhere for setting up the National Centers of Aging. We have 2 of them, one in AIMS and the others in Chennai. He's with us. He's running our geriatric institute. And we also have a naturopathy institute. So now one would wonder, when you were an eye hospital, why this? Because see, very often when we come for eye thing, when you're dealing with the elderly, it's if eyesight is very important, and it's also about the quality of life that you want to give it. And when they come for checking, that is a time very often that we find that they have diabetes, they may have hypertension, you do not know. And if you go to an endocrinologist or a diabetologist, they would often tell you that you should have to watch your diet, get into some exercises, do meditation, try doing. They will prescribe the medicines, maybe it may be metformin, maybe some of the new drugs or anything, but this is there. But naturopathy provides that drugless effort to bring down, help you improve your lifestyle and do that out. So that they're working with the elderly and trying to do this, it fits in with my own interests. So that's one. The other with the Guild of Service where we work, it is with women, basically the widows. It was Mrs. Dr. Mohini Giri who got me into it. She was just waiting for me to. She and I worked along with her in drafting this thing, and the national policy for the elderly, especially the related to health, is more my contribution. I can very clearly say that out. So she wanted to join. So we have an ashram in Vrindavan where sing, and our oldest, we don't call them widows, we call them mothers. Oldest mother is 105 years old. We also run 4 schools for the underprivileged. That is one in Nazafgarh, one in Vrindavan itself, and the other in Savai Madhopur, and one in Kashmir. So these others, so we work with them. I often go to the Nazafgarh Mixi, and when I go to Vrindavan, being with the mothers, it's quite a joy to see them do that out. So it aligns and resonates with me in what I want to do. So I'm linked with them and trying to do that out.
That's so wonderful. That's so wonderful.
So I'm shortening it out.
But one, and speaking to you, I've been always feeling that you may not be a medical doctor, but you're a doctor in some way, that you've been in the healthcare, and even after your retirement. I mean,
it's been a part of it. I don't know how I got into it, because even this International Patients Union, so the person found me out, he said, ma'am, I've been trying to locate you. I tried to locate you. I wasn't say. Then he spoke about the Delhi Declaration. There were 2 Delhi declarations with which I was involved. I think one was in the field when I was in education, and the other was in Delhi. So I tried to recall, but TK, I'm happy to be to offer whatever I can. I won't say I'm this thing, but in whatever little way I can give back, I'm trying to do my little bit.
Okay, Ms. Sujaya Krishnan, my final question to you. You've been an inspiration in your career and post your career, and there are a lot of people who look up to you. As you mentioned, there are people who worked under you who still, wish you a good stay and say that they've learned, and they look up to you as a role model. My question to you is, what if we request you for an advice to youngsters who are starting a career? It could be in any field. It could be in a chosen field of their, wherever they have a liking for, an inclination for. What is an advice that you would give them, a youngster who's taking up a career or thinking about a career, or who's in the initial stages of his career, in whichever field? What is it?
I would say, see, whatever you do, I mean, love the work that you do. And if you have the chance, sometimes you may not have, but whatever you do, I think bring your full passion into it. Because one word people used to describe me is that I'm passionate about whatever I do. And the other thing is, understand, try to build in teams, learn from wherever. The minute, it can be, the knowledge can come. If you don't know something, please feel free to ask. Don't feel ashamed of that. I shamelessly ask people questions. I sing where I sing. And one thing that is always said of me is that I don't talk about anything that I don't know. And if I am saying, if the facts are given by me, then it must be perfect. So I try to, in whatever field you choose, that's your choice. But once you've chosen that, give your full attention to it. Be focused on it. Be clear about what you want to do. Be passionate about it. Bring your integrity into it. Bring accountability. And if you are in a public service kind of thing, please bring in all the empathy that you can. And always remember for whom you are trying to work. That last person somewhere is looking. I mean, there is an expectation. If that is clear, this funda is clear, I think your life is sorted out. And about integrity, I say you sleep well. You don't have to worry about what you have told somebody or this thing. I mean, that it is very necessary that, you have this integrity, you have this thing, and you
And
have the accountability.
And Ms. Suja, one more thing that you mentioned earlier is that put your work pressure at office, forget and don't take
Yeah,
it home.
forget it. Because
Yes.
you see, people tell me, so I keep saying, see, maybe at home I come, you go out, you take it on your children, you think it's not worth, you come back again with the same thing. And then in working this thing, if you're in a leadership position, please try to ensure, you must be sure that the buck stops with you. You must stand up for your people and let them know that they have a stake in what they are doing, that you are a team. And see, your five fingers are not the same, but you can build up a team with saying each one has their. Always work on the good in each person. Try to
Very
locate
true.
that out, and it will be easier for you to build those teams. That is
Everybody has a skill.
always,
Everybody has a skill
yeah,
set,
skill set, and you
capability.
bring.
Yeah, you get those
So
things
you
out.
do that out, so, and once you know that, ki they have, know that they have your backing, they will willingly, even if a mistake happens, tell them that they should have the courage to come and tell you. And let us see how we can solve that. But,
Excellent.
that is very important. I think that's where it all works out. And
Thank you.
the last I would say is, see, at the end of the day, we are not our designations. Like I said, I do not look for my respect from the post I hold. I lend dignity and respect to whichever post I held. And that
Very,
has remained I've remained true to that. And see, at the end of the day, it's not your position that's saying. People will remember me just as Sujaya Krishnan. What I was or anything. The only thing that they will forget what I've done, I'm saying, but they will always remember how I made them feel. Was I sensitive to what they had to say? Sometimes all that you need to do is say, and I'm a very good listener, so I listen out also. So that I think
yeah.
that is very important. You must make people know that when they are there with you to talk, that they are the most important people at that point of time. They are the ones who are important. Listen to it, and if you can help them out, do it 100%. If you cannot, please be upfront and tell them this is what can be done, this cannot be done.
Right.
People will appreciate you for it. They will never
Otherwise, they'll
hold
keep
you.
hoping and yeah, unnecessary
Yeah,
not to raise a hope or
don't
something.
give false hopes. Don't give false hopes.
So true. Mr. Jayakrishan, it was such a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much. You had such a inspiring journey, so wonderful, and I'm sure all the listeners would get inspired by the career that you've had and post your retirement, the kind of good work that you're doing with charity. Really appreciate, and thank you for the time, Mr. Jayakrishan.
Thank you,
Really appreciate the conversation.
Santosh, for this. And thank you, Zena, for giving me an opportunity to come and sing. I feel privileged and humbled at the same time. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. God bless you.
Thank you so much.